Yes, this could happen. And we explain how. Could North Korea's armed forces sink an American aircraft carrier? Yes, depending on what type of carrier they confront. How skillfully U.S. Navy commanders employ the flattop in its consorts, how well North Korean warriors know the tactical surroundings and, most crucially, whom fortune favors in combat. Fortune is a fickle ally, prone to switch sides and back again in battle. It's doubtful an American carrier would fall prey to undersea or aerial attack, but only the foolish say never or always in martial competition, a topsy-turvy affair in which the weak sometimes best the strong. It could happen, and it warrants forethought. This first appeared in January. First, some preliminaries. We know for a fact that the DPRK Navy can sink surface vessels. It did so in 2010, launching a sneak submarine attack on the South Korean corvette Rox Cheonan. Granted, Cheonan was a single ship operating alone, not the centerpiece of a carrier or amphibious task force ringed with escort ships equipped to hunt and assail submarines. The Cheonan incident nevertheless offers proof, if more is needed, of a timeless truth about undersea combat. Even a technologically backward diesel sub running slowly, and thus silently, can approach, strike and sink a modern surface craft crewed by highly professional mariners such as those comprising the ROK Navy. The same could befall the U.S. Navy. Indeed, examples are legion of weaker navies equipped with subs giving superior force fits. In 1982, a Royal Navy task force defending the Falkland Islands expended most of Great Britain's war stock of anti-submarine ordnance in a vain effort to dispatch a single Argentine Type 209 diesel-electric boat, era San Luis. The Argentine skipper reportedly brought his craft to rest on the seafloor in time-honored fashion. Stopping propulsion eliminated machinery noise, letting San Luis evade detection. Tactics refined during World War II worked on the lesser combatants' behalf against a NATO navy optimized for anti-submarine combat. Or take 2006, when a Chinese Type 039 Song-class diesel boat slipped through the defenses of the USS Kitty Hawk carrier strike group, surfacing about 5 nautical miles from the flattop. While the carrier group wasn't on guard against submarine attack, Navy spokesman nonetheless voiced concern that the Song's approach had gone undetected. As well they might. Anti-submarine warfare isn't just a difficult art, but one the U.S. Navy consciously let slip after the Cold War. That's when the leadership resolved to transform the sea service into a fundamentally different naval force that ventured only perfunctory efforts to prepare for high seas combat. It is playing catch-up in the undersea realm. It's amusing when commentators describe this or that submarine as a stealth submarine. Presumably that word stealth exudes sex appeal, and generates web traffic. But all subs are stealthy. A non-stealthy sub is wreckage strewn across the seafloor. DPRK skippers have demonstrated they can avoid that fate, and do their job, should they exploit their advantages at a time when circumstances align in their favor. Yes, American carriers are heavily armored and so forth, as carrier proponents like to say, and yes, sinking one would represent no easy feat. That's a commonplace. But we've known for nearly a century that armored ships can be sunk by aerial, surface, or subsurface attack. Indeed, U.S. Navy aviators, battleship gunners and submariners honed anti-ship warfare to a fine art 75 years past, even before precision-guided munitions made their debut. There are no grounds for hubris vis-a-vis the DPRK Navy. Recommended, 5 places World War III could start in 2018. Recommended, how North Korea could start more. Recommended, this is what happens if America nuke North Korea. Second, the DPRK Navy's prospects depend on the type of carrier force it faces. A carrier strike group centered on a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, CVN, is a different creature from an amphibious-ready group centered on an amphibious carrier, LHD or LHA, such as USS Wasp, currently steaming to its new home port in Sasebo, Japan. Both CVNs and amphibs, like Wasp, can carry high-tech aircraft such as F-35 Joint Strike Fighters. But the bigger CVN boasts a full-fledged air wing, with lots more fighter, attack aircraft along with associated support aircraft. It's also outfitted with catapults capable of slinging warplanes into the sky, bearing larger fuel loads and weapons complements. LHDs and IHAs displace about half as much as CVNs, they have no catapults, and thus they carry a humbler mix of helicopters and vertical launch U.S. Marine F-35s featuring shorter range than their U.S. Navy brethren. An amphibious-ready group, then, presents less formidable challenges to North Korean aviators, rocketeers, and mariners than does a full-up carrier strike group. In all likelihood, then, U.S. Navy commanders would hold amphibious groups in reserve until the heavy fighting off Korean shores subsided. The gators could venture close to shore once air and missile attacks had abated the anti-ship threat, rendering it manageable for the group's more modest defenses. In short, how U.S. commanders arrange forces on the nautical chart and sequence operations will help determine whether a carrier suffers assault from North Korean warbirds, surface or subsurface craft, or anti-ship missiles.